Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the fact that it has temporarily at least bounced off its 20-day moving average, or more specifically the 21-day moving average. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. So I've noticed there's a lot of new money in the space. We did a live stream last night, and a lot of people were very worried over a few percentage point correction. And it did make me somewhat skeptical as to, the general health of the market, as I said on the live stream. With that said, so far Bitcoin has just done what it always does. I mean, it's moved up, it's come back down, it's bounced off a fairly typical moving average. Now this is the 20-day moving average. You can see that we've more or less held this as support as before. When we go below it, it does not mean it's the end of the bull market. It just means that things are, at the very least, temporarily cooling down. Here you can see we've bounced off of it again. And in the past, when we've shown that when we bounce off of it, a lot of times we can get a nice corrective move back to the upside. Corrections don't always have to be to the downside. Sometimes they can be to the upside. But in this situation, we bounced back up so far about 16 or 17%. So I would say right now, nothing has really changed. If you want to look at shorter time frames, of course, you could argue that things have taken a turn for the worst. And of course, over the last, day or so, prices are down. But you can see Bitcoin's back at $55,000, which is the price it was at on February 19th, 3 days ago, and then everyone was bullish. So you see how quickly sentiment can change in these markets. Now, there certainly is no guarantee that Bitcoin is able to hold a 20-day forever. Obviously, it'll fall below it at some point. But my point here is that it fell to the 20-day moving average and more or less has bounced off of it, which a lot of times gives it a nice 15, 25, 30% bounce. If you go to the 21-day moving average, it's actually right on top of that move. So a bounce straight to the 21-day moving average and right back up. Now, last time we bounced down to this level, it actually took a lot longer. Instead of taking just say 1 day, it took closer to 3 or 4 days before we moved down to that level. And because it happened a lot quicker, it maybe was a lot scarier rather than sort of a slower move where other coins were making significant moves. Instead, Bitcoin had a knee-jerk reaction and just came back down very quickly. And because of that, it spooked the entire market. And this is why we saw so many altcoins put in temporarily pretty major losses because Bitcoin's volatility was so high to the downside. If it was more of a slow bleed, then it wouldn't have been as bad. But because it was a very quick bleed, that's what caused a temporary major move to the downside for a lot of altcoins. But a lot of these altcoins have recovered fairly well in a very short period of time. Now, there's no guarantee that we'll hold this 20-day or 21-day moving average, and in fact, at some point, I'm sure we'll go below it. But as we've said before, going below it does not necessarily mean it's the end of the market or the end of the bull market. It just means we might just need to consolidate for a while. Maybe we head down to the 20-week moving average and test the integrity of the bull market. But going below the 20-day or 21-day SMA is certainly by no means an indication that the bull market is over. We've gone below it before, and sometimes we just need to regroup. Bouncing off of it tends to be very bullish. So far, we have bounced off of it, and by bullish I mean it just means that we're not. It doesn't. A lot of times it means we're not immediately going to trend down, which for altcoins can be a good thing. So if Bitcoin were to simply stabilize, at 53K, 54K, 55K, 56K, somewhere in that ballpark, and not go back into price discovery mode, then there's a decent chance that a lot of our favorite altcoins might start to rally. However, for now, Bitcoin volatility remains high to the upside and the downside, so I think a lot of altcoins will continue to more or less wait for confirmation that Bitcoin volatility is cooling off before having major breakouts against Bitcoin. Of course, some altcoins will perform nicely against Bitcoin, even when Bitcoin's doing well, but in terms of the market as a whole, it seems like it's likely waiting to see, okay, is Bitcoin done? Is this correction done? Or is it ultimately going to trend a lot lower, maybe take us back to a 30% drop? A 30% drop is what we saw over here. If you pull up, say, the 50-day moving average, You can see the 50-day moving average is where we ultimately found support last time. If we were to go back to the 50-day moving average, it would correspond closer to a $40,000 Bitcoin, which would correspond to a 30% drop, which is what we saw in January. Note that if Bitcoin does experience a 30% drop over the next several weeks and it does something like this, then there are a lot of other coins that might rally in that time frame as long as it's not a sharp wick down like the one we saw earlier today. Hopefully that makes sense. One interesting thing is the bull market support band has now moved above $28,000. So it's still, it's doing relatively well, and we'll keep an eye on that. It currently ranges from 28,354 up to 31,694. So we're nowhere even close to that level. One thing I was looking at earlier is noticing that, we had 4 weekly candles up and then 2 back, and then now we had another 4 up. We'll see if we're going to have a slight correction. If we do, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the bull market. I've said before that we could be approaching a local top in the next few weeks, but I do not think we are anywhere close to the market cycle peak. I do not think we're anywhere close to the market cycle peak. If you guys like the content, make sure you check out the premium list altcoin season sale. You can find a link to that in the description below. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Definitely subscribe. Let's go for 140,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.